God's always been a significant part of my life. However, there have been some rough times. There was a point in my life where I had to choose either strengthening my relationship with Him or walking away from Him. After high school, I started working with a youth group in Pico Rivera. After about a year, I ended up taking over the youth group and ran the youth group for a couple of years. One day after a youth group event, the pastor brought me into his office. He and the elders acknowledged that they hadn't seen enough growth in the youth group and alluded to the fact that they wanted my resignation from the church. So I gave that to him. After my time in youth ministry, I had several opportunities to serve God. All of them ended in what I considered failure. I felt like I was listening to God all this time and doing exactly what He wanted me to do, but everything I was doing was falling apart. And because of that, I let down my guard and I got in kind of a dangerous area where I was still a Christian. I still acknowledged that I loved Jesus, but He wasn't guiding my life. This led to the darkest time in my spiritual life. I came to a point where I realized I couldn't play this game anymore. I couldn't pretend like I was a Christian, and I didn't want to anymore. I grew tired of it. So I just prayed and said, God, if You're there and You really want me to be part of Your life, then make it really easy. About 2 weeks later, I got a call from a friend of mine from high school who had become a pastor. He said he was starting a new ministry and he wanted me to be part of it. He said he'd been praying and God laid on his heart that I needed to be part of this ministry. At that point, I knew God was speaking to me. So I said, all right, let's give it a shot. The ministry didn't succeed in the way we wanted it to, but it succeeded in the way that I knew God was there and that He wanted me as part of His family still. 2 years ago, I had the privilege of going to Nicaragua with LBF. Before the trip was over, I was asked if I would lead next year's team to Nicaragua. It brought on a lot of doubt and apprehension, and I was wondering if this would just be another failed attempt to serve God, or if it was actually His calling. So I took some time to think about it and pray about it, and I hesitantly accepted to do this. The team that I was blessed with was amazing. I really believe God handpicked every one of them because we all gelled together, and God did some amazing things through us. I started to realize that maybe some of the times that I was counting as failures were not, that God was actually working through me, but He just wanted me to move on and do something different. About a month ago, I began working with the high school group at LBF. I felt like God had really put me back where He wanted me. I really felt for the first time in years that this is exactly where I should be. I kind of liken my faith to a parent holding their child. Sometimes the child wiggles around and wants to get down, and the parent will let them get down, and sometimes the kid will make mistakes. And I kind of feel like that's the way my life was when I was away from Christ. I feel like I was making mistakes, but I knew He was right there to pick me up if I needed Him. Because of Jesus, I'm chosen. I realized with all the doubt and beating myself up over the failures in my life, I realized that God chose me in His family. And I can't take that lightly. If I'm listening to Him and I'm doing what He wants me to do, it's not a failure.